All right. BCA 101. This was Friday. And that would have been 9/23/16, day 11. Topics. So we are working in Unit 2, Information Communications Technology and the Internet. So we're talking about communicating and some more information on the Internet, because the Internet's used a lot for communications. In this, we're starting to work on what kind of impacts technology has made, and these are numerous. There are a lot of different impacts, but here we're talking about mostly communications and what kind of impacts the Internet has had. We talk a little bit about Internet security. We talk a lot more. We have a whole unit on security dealing mostly with networks, but we talk a little bit about Internet security here also. In class, this is for those that maybe were gone, we had the students work with the outliner. They were able to create headings, a certain level of headings, and then they found out that if you change the format of one heading, then it changed for all the headings. And then we had some subcategories inside here, and we just picked some topics to talk about. So students typed that up, and then our goal here, we can move this. This was in Word, Microsoft Word. We can move that to a Google Doc, get the same thing happen. And we took that Google Doc and sent it to a website. Talked about those links on a website. All right. So, and then the idea is also, we talked about a table of contents you can easily make from this. You can move these sections around and so forth. It's really a wonderful feature in word processing if you're going to do any documents of any size. All right. Next, we talked about some of the topics. We kind of reviewed some key things, why we use technology, the speed, accurate, as long as the software and the data are accurate, can handle large amounts of data, and technology has become extremely reliable. In here, since we're talking about communications and the web, it's a little bit more about how the Internet works in terms of search. Web crawlers or spiders go out to these websites and gather information and bring it in. And then Google or Bing or whoever, Yahoo, whoever's your search engine that you're using, they can use algorithms to index that information. And then when you search for a particular thing, it can find the occurrences, and then, depending on how the algorithms work. Talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Then the next thing, it's really important, is once you find content, can you evaluate it? What value is it? Is it accurate? Is it opinion? Is it fact? What kind of sources? Where did it come from? And so forth. It's so important to do that. So important. Then we moved here. Talked about productivity software. This is horizontal software. Horizontal. More or less, companies, any company can use it. Whether you're a farmer, whether you're baking cakes, I don't know, whatever you do, you can use productivity software. Word processing to maybe make flyers, advertisement, whatever. Spreadsheets to do calculations, database to keep customer lists and so forth. Maybe you're going to make a presentation about your cakes or whatever you're making, and of course mixing graphics into the presentation and the database or spreadsheet more so to display the information so it's easier to read, understand, and so forth. Office 365 does all those things and more. And if you want to store it in the cloud, you have OneDrive. Office 365, that's proprietary software. Okay, buy and pay for that, or pay a licensing to use that. Similar products down here, OpenOffice, we have open source software. It's not proprietary. It's what we call open source. Typically it's free and people can adjust or change the software. They can change the source code. It's open. It's the whole idea that software should be distributed freely. And then kind of a combination, I'm not sure how to label it, cloud-based would be the example, like Google. Google creates this kind of software. It's not near as powerful as this, what Microsoft produces, all the cool things that can do, but it's often very good to do what we need to do. How do they pay for it? Ads. Creative Commons relates to our open source things we can share freely, but with some type of restrictions. Alright, so we talked a little bit about productivity software, proprietary software, open source software, some cloud-based, like out here, Google has it in the cloud. And then we talked also in this unit about web search and how when you create a website here and you start displaying stuff there, those they come in and read and take that stuff. For example, if it's a Google, that brings it back to Google, and then Google starts to index all that information. So you create a new website and you share it with the world. You have a DNS, domain name services, and you have a domain name and it's available to everywhere in the internet. Those crawlers eventually come in and look at key terms and items off of your page, and then that information gets indexed, and Google then does a good job of looking at how those links compare to other links and so forth. So then when you search for a term, it can create this list for you to select from. Alright, that's it for tonight.